Karma is that unseen force, subtly pulling strings, lurking like a silent predator. People think they can outrun it, outwit it, but karma isn't chasing. It waits, patient and poised, striking with a precision so poetic, even the untouchable feel its cold grip. Karma isn't bound by morality, it's a force of balance, unfeeling, calculating. It doesn't care who you are, what you've achieved, or how far you've ascended. Sooner or later, the scales tip. And when they do, it's a beautiful devastation. People live as if actions don't echo, as if whispers in the dark vanish in the silence. But karma listens. It observes from the shadows, patient, calculating, watching your every move. You may think you're hidden behind the mask of lies and deception, but karma sees it all. And that's its greatest danger. It's in no hurry. It waits until you're at your peak, convinced of your victory, and then it strikes. The fall is always hardest from the top. There's a sinister elegance to the way karma works. It doesn't always come with thunderous destruction. Sometimes it's a creeping shadow, subtle and unnoticed until it's too late. Other times, it barrels through your life like a wrecking ball, obliterating everything in its path. But regardless of the form it takes, karma always fits the crime. It doesn't need violence to destroy. Sometimes the quiet regret is far more torturous. A mistake that haunts your every waking moment. The whisper of guilt that eats at your soul. Karma doesn't have to scream. It knows how to devastate in ways you never saw coming. No amount of power, wealth, or influence can shield you from karma's reach. It can't be bribed, manipulated, or controlled. It's the ultimate equalizer, ensuring that every action has a consequence. The terrifying part: those consequences never strike when you expect them. Karma waits for the perfect moment, the moment when you're most vulnerable, when you've let your guard down, and that's when it hits. People mistake karma for justice, but it's not about fairness. Justice is a human construct, wrapped in morality. Karma doesn't care about right or wrong, it cares about balance. You upset the balance, and karma restores it. It's not personal, it's universal. You can't escape the brutal logic that every action leads to a consequence. The harder you try to outrun it, the more you become entangled in its web. Every lie, every betrayal, every selfish move, it all builds the trap karma will eventually pull tight. And by the time you realize what's happening, it's already too late. People think they can live without consequences, but karma always comes to collect. It's indifferent to your excuses, your tears, your apologies. Once the scales are tipped, there's no going back. The storm karma brings is inevitable, and as it builds on the horizon, you're powerless to stop it. The tragedy is that people are often the architects of their own misery, creating the storm that will eventually tear their lives apart. They follow the norms, obey the rules, play the game, and when it all falls apart, they cry out for salvation, blaming everyone but themselves. They summon the storm, yet act surprised when the rain falls. It's easier for them to stay blind to the chaos they unleashed, to paint themselves as victims of fate. But the truth is, most people never stop to realize they're the creators of their own suffering. They conform because it feels safe, but that safety is a lie. Convention is the breeding ground for storms, the trap that pulls you deeper into the chaos. Every decision made out of fear, every step taken to avoid discomfort, strengthens the storm. And when the winds howl and the rain begins to fall, they're left wondering why their lives are in ruins, never understanding that the storm was born from their own choices. The only way to escape this fate is to break free from the cycle, to reject the script society has written for you. True power lies in defiance, in stepping outside the comfort zone that lulls you into complacency. Most people react without thinking, quick to strike back when attacked. It's predictable, expected. But real power lies in restraint. How you respond to cruelty, to betrayal, determines your karma. Their actions may be venomous, but how you react, that's where your karma takes shape. People expect reactions, they feed off them. But when you rise above, refusing to let their actions dictate your response, that's when you take control. Silence, calm, these are the most powerful weapons. Reactions are chains, binding you to the aggressor's game. The second you play by their rules, you lose. But by standing still, letting their storm rage around you without engaging, you turn the tables. You hold the power, not them. Choice is an illusion, a double-edged sword. Every path comes with a consequence, lurking in the shadows, waiting to strike. You can choose the path, but you can't control what that path brings. Once the decision is made, the consequences own you. And no matter how carefully you choose, you can never escape the price you must pay. Karma is the silent judge, and every action ripples out into consequences you can't foresee. You're free to choose, but once the choice is made, you're locked in. The price will always be paid. People cast you as the villain, needing someone to blame for their failures, their disappointments. No matter what you do, you'll always be the monster in someone's story. Heroes are fleeting, but villains endure. They are the scapegoats, the reason for every misstep. But the villain never gets the luxury of being understood. The narrative is already written, and your role is clear. No matter how you try to rewrite the script, you'll always be the villain in their eyes. And that's the irony, they need their villains more than they need their heroes. Without you, they'd have to face the chaos within themselves. You see, it's easier for them that way, isn't it? To paint you in shadows, to cast you in darkness, because then they never have to confront their own flaws, their own brokenness. In their eyes, you're not a person, you're a symbol, a convenient outlet for all the things they refuse to acknowledge about themselves. It's almost poetic, really. The more they project their insecurities onto you, the more they become shackled by their own demons. And all the while you wear the mask they've given you, not because it fits, but because it makes them feel safe. They need the villain to make sense of their world, to justify their shortcomings. Without someone to hate, they'd have to look inward, and that terrifies them. It's not you they fear, it's the truth that your existence forces them to avoid. So they craft their narrative, and in it, you're the antagonist, the one who disrupted their perfect little story. They don't want to see the cracks in their own reflection, so they focus on the ones they imagine in yours. But here's the real twist: the more they need you to play the villain, the less they realize they are the authors of their own downfall. They created the storm they now rage against. You're just the mirror, reflecting their chaos back at them. They want to believe they're the victims of your cruelty, of your darkness, but deep down they know. They know they invited the storm into their lives, set the flames themselves, and now can't bear the heat. You can try to step out of the role they've written for you, try to show them that you're not the monster they've painted, but they'll never see it. They don't want to. Heroes are comforting, but villains are essential. They'll cling to their villains, to you, because without the darkness they'd be forced to confront their own. And that's a battle they're not ready to fight. So wear the mask they've made, not because it defines you, but because it frees them. Let them cast you as the villain if that's what they need. In the end, the true tragedy isn't yours, it's theirs. They'll spend their lives running from the shadows they've created while you, the so-called villain, stand unburdened, watching as they crumble beneath the weight of their own denial. And isn't that the real power? While they scramble to escape their self-made nightmares, you're the one who sees the truth for what it is. They need to label you, define you, because that gives them a sense of control. But here's the thing: labels don't change reality. No matter what they call you, it doesn't alter who you are. Their accusations, their judgments, they all slide off you like rain on stone, while they're left drowning in their own delusions. They think the villain suffers, that wearing that title is some kind of punishment. But they don't understand the freedom it brings. You're not bound by their rules, not shackled by their desperate need for approval or validation. The villain isn't confined by the expectations of the world, they're liberated by it. While they struggle to maintain the facade of the hero, pretending their actions are pure, their motives noble, you get to live in the truth. You get to embrace the chaos they so fear. The irony? They call you the villain, but you're the only one who's truly free. Free from the need to be liked, to be understood, to be anything other than what you are. They twist themselves into knots trying to please everyone, trying to play the part of the hero, while you move through life untethered, unbothered by their fragile opinions. That's the ultimate power, to be able to stand tall while they crumble beneath the weight of the roles they've chosen. Because here's the secret they'll never understand: being the villain isn't about being evil. It's about defying their expectations, breaking free from the narrative they've tried to force upon you. It's about refusing to play by their rules and living on your terms. And that's what scares them the most. Not your darkness, not your so-called cruelty, but your freedom. Your refusal to be defined by their standards. That's what terrifies them, because deep down, they know they could never be that brave. So let them whisper. Let them point fingers. Let them cast you as the villain in their carefully constructed tales. You don't need to change their minds. You don't need their understanding. You've already won simply by being true to yourself, by existing outside of the prison they've built for themselves. And while they flounder in the chaos they refuse to acknowledge, you stand in the eye of the storm calm, untouched, and utterly unbreakable.